All right, so today we're jumping into something, well, pretty fascinating. Ever feel like there's more to your movement, like some potential you just can't quite tap into?
Oh, absolutely. It's that feeling of hitting some kind of invisible barrier, right?
Right.
And today, we've got some really interesting source material. It offers a framework for understanding exactly that.
Yeah, we're diving into excerpts from a new book by Terence J Hughes. It's called The Invisible Injury. He talks about his work, the Samba Protocol, and this really cool conceptual tool he presents.
Hmm. A modified JoHari window.
Exactly, but applied specifically to movement awareness, how you understand your own movement.
So our goal here, for you listening, is to unpack this tool. Show how it helps reveal those hidden bits, things you don't notice, maybe things others see, or even stuff nobody's aware of yet that could be limiting you.
It's about getting a different perspective, going beyond just, okay, lift this, stretch that. So let's get into this framework. Some might know the original Johari window from psychology.
Yeah, Lifton Ingham. Used for, like, interpersonal stuff, how you see yourself versus how others see you.
Right. But Hughes takes this core idea and applies it brilliantly to movement intelligence. And what's really compelling is how it helps visualize what the source calls the invisible vocabulary of movement.
And even this phrase, the ghost of the self.
Yeah, that ghost of the self. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Something unseen but powerful holding us back. Okay, so let's picture this tool. It's basically 4 quadrants, right? 4 areas of movement awareness.
Exactly. Think of a simple window pane with 4 sections.
Yeah.
Top left, that's the open area. This is what's known to you, the person moving, and is known to others watching you.
Okay, so this is the straightforward stuff. Your posture that everyone sees, a skill you've practiced and know well. It's conscious, visible, out there.
Yep. Your readily accessible movement. Now, top right, the blind spot. This is stuff that others can see about your movement, but you are totally unaware of.
Ah, okay, this is where it gets interesting. Like maybe you fidget in a certain way when you're thinking and you have no idea.
Or maybe a coach points out a slight hitch in your stride you've never ever felt.
Right, something obvious externally, but invisible internally. Got it. What's next?
Moving down, bottom left, we have the hidden area. This is the opposite of the blind spot. It's known only to you, but invisible or unknown to others.
So all the internal sensations.
Yeah.
That subtle feeling of being off balance maybe, or a little twinge of tension before you make a specific move.
Exactly. Or even just your intention behind a movement. No one else can directly access that internal landscape. Only you can feel it. It's your subjective world.
Okay, open, blind spot, hidden. What's the last one?
The bottom right. And this one's really intriguing. The unknown area. This contains movement potential, capabilities, ways of moving that are unknown to both you and anyone observing you.
Wow. So this is like pure, untapped potential, things you literally don't know you're capable of.
Could be latent abilities, maybe a range of motion you never knew you had because you never tried that specific thing, or just a completely different coordination pattern that feels totally foreign right now.
It's like undiscovered territory within yourself.
Precisely. And here's a really key point from the source material. Most traditional training methods, they focus almost entirely on that first quadrant, the open area.
Right. They work on what you can consciously control and what the coach can see. Makes sense.
It does, but it misses so much because a lot of your potential, and maybe even more importantly, the limits on your potential, they live in those other 3 quadrants. The blind spot, the hidden, and especially the unknown.
So the Samba protocol, using this Johari window map, it deliberately tries to explore all 4 areas.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that ghost of the self idea. The source uses that to talk about these invisible constraints.
Okay, tell me more about these. They're not physical injuries or lack of strength, right?
No, not necessarily. They're more subtle. Like invisible walls creating what the book calls a movement ceiling. Things holding you back that aren't about muscle power or flexibility per se.
So what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, the source lists a few types. One is hidden beliefs. These are like assumptions you carry around about movement. What's correct, what's safe, what's even possible for someone like you, often totally unexamined.
Okay. Like believing I'm just not a flexible person, so you never explore it?
Exactly. Your movement identity, how you define yourself as a mover. I'm clumsy. I'm powerful but slow. These labels can really restrict what movements even feel like you.
Makes sense. What else?
Emotional patterns. Think about how stress makes you tense up your shoulders without realizing it. Habitual emotions create these unconscious physical signatures. They literally shape how you move.
Yeah, I can see that.
Then there are cultural inscriptions. The way your culture taught you to stand, to walk, to gesture, it's ingrained so deeply you don't even notice it as a choice.
Wow. Okay, and one more?
Traumatic imprints. This is about past injuries or even just perceived threats.
Mm-hmm.
You might develop protective patterns holding back, tensing up, and those patterns can persist long after the danger is gone. Unconscious guarding.
So these are the components of the ghost. They're not solid, but they really limit your options.
That's the idea. They operate unseen, creating very real boundaries to your movement freedom.
So if these things are invisible, how on earth do you start to see them? How does the Samba protocol approach this? It's not just thinking about it, right?
Definitely not. The key, according to the source, is action learning. It's learning by doing, but specifically by engaging in real challenges, things that push you outside your usual comfort zone.
Okay, learning through experience.
Yeah, and there's a formula presented. L equals P plus Q plus R. Learning equals program knowledge, your existing skills and info, plus questioning insight plus reflection.
P plus Q plus R. And the Q, the questioning, is key.
It's highlighted as the real engine. The questions are designed to spark insight from the action. What did you see? What did you feel? What happened when you tried that? It's about making sense of the experience as it happens or just after.
So what kind of actions or processes does the protocol use?
Several specific things are mentioned. Feedback loops, getting immediate info back from your interaction with the environment or a partner. Cause and effect, made clear.
Okay, like trying to balance and immediately feeling when you wobble.
Right. Or contrast experiences. Deliberately exploring opposites. If you always move fast, try moving incredibly slowly. It highlights the nature of your habit by experiencing its absence.
Interesting. What else?
Paradoxical tasks. These are challenges set up to kind of break your usual patterns. They might seem unsolvable with your normal approach, forcing you to find a new way.
Pushes you into the unknown.
Exactly. Also, partner mirroring. Moving with someone else, trying to sync up. It can make your own unconscious habits glaringly obvious when you see them reflected or when you try to match someone else.
Yeah, huh? And you mentioned video earlier.
Yes, video feedback. Simple, but incredibly powerful. Seeing yourself move from the outside, it often reveals a big gap between your internal feeling and the external reality. Great for spotting those blind spots.
Okay, so you do these actions, you get feedback, you experience things differently. But that's not the whole story, is it? There was an R in that formula.
Right, reflection. This is absolutely crucial. It's the bridge that turns the raw experience into actual learning, into insight. And the source emphasizes embodied reflection.
Embodied, meaning not just thinking about it intellectually.
Exactly. It's about processing the experience through your physical sensations, your felt sense, not just analyzing it from the neck up.
So how do you do embodied reflection?
The source mentions practices like somatic questioning, asking things like, where did I feel that tension in my body? Or what was the quality of sensation when?
Tuning into the body's signals.
Yes. Also, directed attention, consciously focusing your awareness on specific parts of the experience. Experience articulation, finding words for feelings or sensations that maybe didn't have a name before, that itself builds awareness.
Putting language to it.
Yeah. And pattern recognition, noticing, oh, every time I do X, I feel Y. And finally, insight integration, consciously deciding how to apply what you've learned to your next action.
So it's this loop: act, question, reflect. And that helps explore the unknown, shrink the blind spot, and hidden areas.
And consciously grow the open area. You're making more of your potential visible, understandable, and accessible.
And this isn't just a one-off thing.
No, the source explicitly frames it using the Kaizen principle, continuous incremental improvement. It's an ongoing cycle.
Can you walk us through that cycle again?
Sure. You have an experience through some form of action learning. Then you engage in reflection on it, focusing on the embodied aspects. This generates insight. You then apply that insight to guide your next action or movement. And over time, that new way becomes integrated into your repertoire.
Experience, reflection, insight, application, integration.
And it's described not as a flat circle, but an expanding spiral. Each cycle builds on the last, opening up more awareness and capacity. It's sustainable growth.
That makes a lot of sense. Can we look at a concrete example? The source mentions a coach and player action learning tool.
Yes, this is a great practical illustration. It's a structured conversation, basically, using these principles. It follows a simple three-step process.
Okay, what's step one?
Step one is observe and share. The coach watches the player move and then shares only factual observations. No judgment, no interpretation, just, I noticed your weight shifted left then, or the pace increased during that part.
Just the facts. Then step two.
Step two is question and explore. This is where that targeted questioning comes in. The coach uses different types of questions. There are awareness questions. What did you feel under your feet right then? Focusing on internal state.
Okay.
Then understanding questions. What do you think might be contributing to that? Prompting analysis and discovery questions. What's possible if you were to try X? Opening up exploration.
And the key is the coach isn't telling the player the answer.
Exactly. The goal is to help the player discover the insight for themselves. It builds their own awareness and self-correction skills. It's not about the coach being the expert with all the answers.
Guiding discovery, not prescribing solutions. I like that. And step 3.
Step 3 is action and commit. Based on the exploration, the player identifies what they want to try next. Okay, I'm going to focus on keeping my gaze level. The coach just confirms that commitment. Okay, let's try that.
It really shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? Puts the learner in the driver's seat. The source mentions research supports this.
Yeah, it notes that this kind of question approach is known to develop metacognition, your ability to think about your own process. Whether that's thinking or, in this case, moving, you learn how to learn.
So zooming out, what's the ultimate aim here? Is it just about better technique?
According to the source, the aim is bigger than that. It's liberation.
Liberation from what?
Liberation from those invisible constraints we talked about, the hidden beliefs, the limiting identities, the emotional patterns. Liberation from that ghost of the self to unlock your authentic potential.
And what does that liberated movement look like, feel like?
The source describes it as having expanded choice, more options available to you. Authentic expression movement that feels genuinely yours. Adaptive responsiveness, being able to react effectively to unpredictable situations.
So more freedom, more resilience.
Yes, and creative freedom, finding new solutions, and sustainable development, growing continually without hitting those artificial ceilings imposed by the ghost. It's about becoming, as the book says, a more fully liberated human being through movement.
That's a powerful vision. Are there other ways this framework is applied?
Briefly, yes. The source mentions things like movement biography mapping, kind of excavating your personal history of movement influences.
Yeah.
Constraint identification exercises. Even cultural movement archaeology, looking at how broader societal patterns show up in your body.
And role experimentation, consciously trying on different ways of moving, like exploring different facets of strength beyond just rigidity, maybe.
Exactly. That example of strong is great. If your internal map only equates strong with hard, you're missing fluid strength, resilient strength. That's an invisible constraint. This work helps you question and expand those definitions.
So the ghost isn't something you just defeat once.
No, it seems more like an ongoing process of discovery.
Okay.
The ghost evolves, your awareness evolves. The JoHari window is like a living map for this lifelong journey.
And it changes the teacher-student relationship, too.
Fundamentally, it becomes more of a co-creation or partnership in discovery. Less hierarchy, more shared exploration.
The source also mentions something called movement koans, like Zen koans.
Yeah, sort of. They're described as window openers. Puzzles or challenges designed to disrupt your habitual patterns and force you into those blind spot or unknown areas. The example given is move without moving.
Huh. Makes you think. Or rather, makes you feel differently.
Precisely. It bypasses the analytical mind to get at deeper layers. All of this aims toward developing what the source calls authentic movement. Movement that arises from awareness of all 4 quadrants. The open, the hidden, the blind spots, the unknown potential. It reflects your true intention and your full available capacity. It's about freedom.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into Terence Hughes' framework from The Invisible Injury. It's a really compelling way to think about movement, isn't it? Using this modified JoHari window.
It really is. It invites you, the listener, to consider your own movement. What might be in your blind spot right now? What habits do others see that you don't?
And what about your hidden area? Those internal sensations, intentions, subtle feelings about movement that only you know. Are you paying attention to them?
And then the big one. What potential lies dormant in your unknown area? What capabilities might emerge if you stepped outside your usual patterns, if you started asking different questions?
So the final thought for you to mull over. Think beyond just the physical act of moving. What invisible beliefs, maybe identities, or even stuck emotions might be creating your personal ghost? What's limiting your expression, perhaps not just in sport or exercise, but in how you navigate the world? And what incredible potential might just be waiting in that unknown space, ready for you to discover through a little action, questioning, and reflection? Maybe movement isn't just something you do, but a lifelong path of discovering who you are.